Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Seasons podcast. And today is a very special day because today we'll be having our first guest speaker, Michal Hudac. So Michal Hudac is a fellow graduate from Hult, and he's really passionate about design. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, Michal?
So thank you for having me. My name is Michal Hudac. I am from Slovakia. I grew up in Slovakia and spent 18 years there. And then when I was 18, I moved to the US. That's where we met. I graduated from Hult. I was there for 3 years. And then I was passionate in design for my whole life. And I didn't ever think that I was going to be a designer after I graduated because I was in a business school. But then it turned out that I was able to make a living out of being a designer. So I started doing that, and then what I'm doing right now is I joined with a couple of my friends and we're running a small digital marketing agency. That's like a quick bio of what I do and who I am. I hope it helps.
That's very wonderful. So what does your digital marketing agency do?
So right now we have different packages, but what we do for the clients that we have is we do web design and SEO. We do brand identity and graphic design. Those are the two main packages. Then we have advertising, which is Google AdWords, Facebook AdWords, pay-per-click ads, and so on. So web design and SEO, advertising, brand design, and social media management. Yes.
Right. Be sure to reach out to Michal for any of your business needs.
Yeah, so we can have a shout out at the end.
Right, for sure. So one of the things that why we invited you to the podcast was because you've written an article about job search. It's a really wonderful article. Would you mind sharing to the audience about it? Because perhaps some of the listeners haven't known about your article yet.
Yeah, so what I was struggling with in my senior year is that I was searching for an internship, and what I was doing is what all the other students do. I went on LinkedIn, I messaged people on LinkedIn, I did it all day, all night, like 100 messages in like 2 months, and I didn't get any replies. And so I got desperate and I tried a different strategy, and the strategy worked, and I got my paid internship, and that's what I wrote my blog about, like the whole process of doing this.
So one important part about networking and reaching out to different people is about making an impression in the first 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. So for your case, would you have any tips on how to make an elevator pitch? Because you wrote about an elevator pitch in your article. Mm-hmm. And if you don't mind, could you share us?
The whole point of the article was that LinkedIn messages don't work if you're a student, because like the people that work in the positions that can give you the job, they get like hundreds of those during the day and during their working week. So my strategy was to go physically visit the companies and then give the elevator pitch. So what I did is I created my own portfolio, which was like a physical brochure with my booklet of my designs, my CV, and so on. And then I came to the companies, and then I gave my elevator pitch, and I left the brochure there. So yeah, and the elevator pitch was basically, hi, my name is Michal. I am a marketing student at this school. I am looking for an internship, and this is my portfolio. Can you please give it to Mr. X? And so Mr. X was somebody I researched before I came there so that I have somebody specific to give it to.
That is wonderful. And you had 5 steps on the article that you gave. And one of the first steps was thinking, which is the most important part.
Yeah, there was a quote as well. I think it was like, thinking is the hardest thing there is. That's why so few engage in it. Henry Ford, yeah.
Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of related with your background towards like how you got to design and how you thought about it. What was the thought process that you had when you were, I would say, when you were trying to find your interests? Mm-hmm. Because you were talking about merging your interests with your major. Yeah. And I just kind of wanted to go over like how you actually thought about that.
Yeah. So I was a marketing student, but I really enjoyed design. So I was really trying to find something where I could do both. So I looked at branding agencies, I looked at advertising agencies, I looked at digital marketing agencies, because I knew that they were about marketing, but there was a lot of creative stuff about them as well, so I could join these two. And so when I started the thinking part, the first step of my blog, I looked at all the companies. I first thought of what the companies are, and then in the next step, I researched companies that do those things. So I looked at what I was studying, I looked at what I enjoyed, and I kind of assembled it together. But I don't think you always have to do that. I think if you enjoy marketing and you only want to do marketing, then you just look at marketing agencies. Or
right.
The main point of the think process was to just like, if there's an opportunity for you to get a finance internship, but you're a marketing major and you feel desperate and you're like, oh, I have to take this. Like my advice was to like sit down and think if you really want to do this, you know.
For sure,
Don't be desperate and like think and do more so that you can get an internship that you actually want. So that was the first step.
Before I wanted to ask you, like, how did you find something that you like? I mean, what I meant was, how did you know that design was something for you? Why was it there in the first place in the beginning?
So for this one, when I say design is my passion, I don't think that I was born to be a designer. So I think passion is something that you like get over the years. So how it started for me is that like since a young age, I was just like always drawing or something. I was always doing something creative. And then as I was doing that, I was getting better and people were responding to it. It was like, oh, this is cool. And then in school projects, my PowerPoint slides were always nicer than everybody else. And they were like, oh, Michael's presenting, this is going to be good. And I think that's how the passion was born, because I was getting better at it and people were responding to it. And that's how it started. And I just started learning Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, and that's how it was born. So when people say like try to find your passion, I don't think you should sit down and think what your passion is. Like I don't think that's how it works. I think you find passion through like doing the things. Did that answer the question?
That's a very good answer. Just trying to go over like for the people who have not found their passion, how would you help? What kind of suggestion would you give to these?
That's a tough question. But there's this podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. Can I mention it?
Yeah.
And the guy there, he talked about when he's like one of the best entrepreneurship podcasts, and he's like, when I started this podcast, I wasn't passionate about being a podcaster, but it was something that was there, and he think that it was something he would enjoy, and he started doing it, and then people started coming in, and then he was like, oh shit, like this is something I want to do, and then the passion was found. It wasn't like he sat down and like, what's my passion? Like I don't think you're gonna find it by doing something that you think you're gonna enjoy. So it doesn't have to be. I think you just need to try something and then see if it works out, and I think it becomes passion over the long term, not like immediately. I don't think you sit down and you think of what your passion is. I don't know, how does it work for you?
For me, in terms of like finding passion about what I want to do, I am actually still in that journey, and so I am not only asking the question for fellow listeners who don't know what they've completely figured out on what they want to do. I'm also asking partly for myself.
Okay. Like, what do you think you would enjoy doing, like, as a job?
So some of the things that I enjoy doing, one of the things that I remember is I was doing wireframing. So wireframing is basically creating drafts or designs of like websites or apps. And I did that for a little bit, and I like it, but I don't know if I would really like it.
So when I found out, when I like, where my passion confirms every time is that when I sit down and start designing in Illustrator, I get lost. Like I realize like 5 hours later that I've been doing something.
Yes, that's how I felt.
Exactly. So I think that's how you find out when something, like you would do it for free, and like time passes when you do it, like you don't even realize it. So, and I think I remember this wireframing that like you were like, hey Michael, come have a look.
Yes,
look what and you've never done that before with me, so I think there's something. So in this case for you, I would go like maybe explore it more, maybe find a job.
Probably that's a very good point.
Look at some courses, UX design, like maybe that's how I would go about it.
In another part of your article, it was about the visit and then having physical deliverables with you. One of the things that you have aside from your
physical deliverable.
That's how I call it.
No, this is what it is.
Yes.
But, yeah.
So like aside from your resume on your document, you were talking about having a website. And let's say, for example, some of the listeners may be still early in their college years. They may not have a website. They may not have enough work experience, or they might think that they do not have enough things to put on their website if they make one. If these second to third year students, they want to make a website, what should they put on the website?
Yes, I think what I described in the blog was that the website can be like a more visual CV. So with me, when I was applying for the job, my CV wasn't like, I didn't have that much experience, but my website was basically, it's a little different for me because I'm a graphic designer, so I could put the work that I did. But I think if you're a finance major and you mentioned that you worked in your father's company, then you can like show pictures of what you did. I think you can describe it more, because in the CV you don't have enough time and enough space to like tell what you did in the company. So I think the tone there on the website can be even more relaxed. You like talk more about you put more pictures of yourself, you tell more about your personality. So I think that's what you should put on the website, even if you don't have enough experience. And I think the main point of the website was not even like what is on the website, but to just have it as a bonus so that people can see that you've put an effort into like applying for the job. Or maybe you can, like, I didn't think about it for the blog, but maybe if they come to your website, you could even be like, if you've come to this website, you probably received my portfolio. That's because I'm looking for an internship. Like maybe somehow link your visit with the website, and I just think it's a more interactive platform. Did you think that regards to yourself, like how would I make a website, or what would the website for myself be?
Partly, but I was also thinking about what questions would people or people without a website want to know about benefits of having a website.
So yeah, I think it shows more effort. I think not everybody has a website. I think you can show the creative part of yourself, like in terms of colors, in terms of how you design it. You can show pictures. You can't put pictures on your CV. Yeah, it's just there's more stuff. And I think the more things you do, the better your chances that you're gonna. And most of the blog, the point was to show that like do as much as you can and increase the chance of getting the internship. Like every single feature that I described there.
My opening point for myself, because I'm also asking myself the same question: do I need a website? Well,
should we go through it again? Like what's on your CV and how would we? That's why I like in the blog, if somebody wants to visit it, you're gonna put a link in the description. I tell guys that even if you are a finance major, like there's still something you can put on your website for sure. Maybe a video.
I feel like it'd be a very interesting question right now to ask you, since you do have experience with web design, about the process about, like, let's say, wireframing your websites, or like.
I don't think you need to go into wireframing. Maybe like before you start doing it, I would think what you want to put there, maybe wireframe. If you start using Squarespace or Wix, you're gonna choose a template, and I think it's gonna give you a totally different.
Oh yeah.
But first, I would go on Squarespace or Wix. I wouldn't do WordPress. I think it's too complicated for beginners. Right, but yeah, Squarespace then gives you templates, and they can be like portfolio templates. You can choose the template and then just edit it there, and it's just drag and drop. You don't need to code. So I would
WordPress hurts a little bit for non-coding.
And if you do WordPress, do WordPress.org, not WordPress.com.
Why so?
So WordPress.com they do give you templates, but when you choose the template, it completely .org is just, it's easier to use.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in how you came up on the fourth part about your article. You said that like visiting the offices, because you were talking about visiting all the offices. You made a list before, and you'll visit offices one by one. You were saying that visiting on Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the best time. Why is that so?
So I don't think it's that important, like which days you visit the companies. But again, this is one of the things where like you want to increase the chance. So first step was think what you want to do. Then second step was research. You research the companies that are related to the thing that you want to do. And then you make a list of all the companies that you want to visit. And so when I visited, I was like, which days would be the best to visit? So it's not based on research, but I was just thinking on Monday, people come back from the weekend. They're like stressed out because all the work is coming in. So you don't want to be the annoying student that comes in and like wants to give them your portfolio. So on Monday, it's like a warm up, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, I think are the good days when people are like working. So they're like ready to, rock and roll. So when they receive the portfolio, they're like excited. And then Thursday, Friday for me is like, it's already the weekend, like don't annoy me, like let's just let the week pass.
Right.
So I thought Tuesday and Wednesday are the best days, but that's just my thinking. I don't think it matters, but I thought it would increase the chance.
Yeah, thanks. That was just something that was very interesting.
Would you agree?
It's a fair point, because I'm going to end up repeating what you said, but like Mondays people just go over the weekend. Like being in the middle when you're not too close, too far away is just the perfect time to approach people.
Yeah. And also don't go. I went just before Thanksgiving.
Right.
And like some of the offices, I ring the bell and only one person opens, and I'm like, can you give this to? And he's like, I'm the only person in the office. Like everybody left for Thanksgiving already. So I wouldn't do it close to any holidays for sure.
Time passes really fast. It's almost Thanksgiving again.
Yeah, it's been a year. No, it's been 2 years. No, 1 year.
It's been a year.
It's been a year. Yeah.
It's been a year.
That's another topic to discuss. But yeah, don't go close to any holidays, and go Tuesday or Wednesday, I would say.
What were your pains when you wrote up what were the biggest pains that you had throughout your journey?
The visiting part. I think I'm a very shy person, and if you think about it, I'm like...
Are you? Go on, sorry.
I think it depends. Like with you, I'm not, but like generally I probably am. So the pain was, think about it, like you're in your office, like professional, and then a student comes that studies marketing, and he says, I'm a designer, and he gives you a portfolio, which is like semi-professional, because my work was back then wasn't as good. I think it's better now. And so all these doubts were like what am I doing? Like, let's not do this. And so before every time I rang the bell and entered the company, I just had to like breathe in, breathe out. Yeah, so those were the difficult moments. But I did like 30 companies in one day. I visited like 30 altogether, and I visited 15 each day. So I warmed up. So probably the companies that you care the least, do them first so that you can warm up with them, and then the ones I didn't mention that, but yeah.
That's a very good point as well, because that's what happens in the career fairs.
Yeah.
You go to the companies that you that you don't really want to, that you don't care about. And my notification just popped up.
It's okay, man.
And you get to warm up with different people, have conversation. I think doing power poses, if you remember, I think in Prince's class. So Prince is one of our professors.
Prince Gilman, shout out.
Shout out to Prince.
Top 3 for me, one of the top 3 teachers at Hult. Boom.
I love it.
He should come in.
He's gonna be a part of a guest soon.
Hopefully. We'll get there. So he was teaching us about power poses, how having a shot of coffee would be helpful. And I think that'd be helpful for like dealing with any sort of anxiety or nervousness, especially before interviews, before any events.
Yeah, if you can get any drug like caffeine or like something, you know, anything that helps you to relax, I think
Cocaine.
I don't think that makes you relax, man.
Something legal, yeah.
Remember to abide by the law. We are not promoting the use of illegal drugs, illegal substances.
Yeah, but to go back to the point, like the doubts, I had these doubts that I'm retarded. Like, what am I doing? This is awkward. This is childish. Like, nobody else is doing this. Then I went back, like, why I did it, because I thought it was going to be something that nobody else does. And, like, if I was an owner of a company and somebody would come in and do all this effort, I would be like, oh, like, his designs are not as good, but, like, he showed initiative. Like, he came in, he's very hardworking. So maybe this is somebody we would want to have in the company. And so I always looked at the bright side, and then that helped me, and I did it, and it worked out.
That is admirable of you.
But yeah, but be careful, because I visited 30 companies and I only got like 3 replies. So the ratio is gonna be very, very,
very low.
Very low. But it's better than 0.
Going about the topic about your ratio, there's obviously rejection. I think you mentioned that sometimes they reject you at the door. How do you handle a very abrupt rejection like that?
So one of the rejections was I came to the reception area. I told him what I'm here to do, and they were like, we're not accepting anything physical. So I was just like, okay, and I left. And I was like, it was a big international agency, and I don't think they want to receive packages because it's dangerous. Like, people can leave something explosive. I'm not gonna name the agency, but it made sense, and I was like, okay, and I just left.
Stuck America.
Yeah. And the other one was a little more aggressive. So I come there, I ring the bell, and it's this Russian accent. Who is this? I say what I usually say. My name is Michael. I blah blah. And he was like, okay. And when you say okay, I thought he was gonna open the door, no? And I wait for like 5 minutes and nothing. And I ring again. He's like, who is this? You know, and Michael, I say the same, and he was like, okay. And nothing. And then there's a guy coming out. I thought it was like somebody from them, but it wasn't. So I open the door, I come in, I go up there, I open, and it's like this dark room, just dark. And there's like 3 Russians sitting on a chair. It's like, who is this? I say the same thing, and they were like, we're not hiring. And I was like, but maybe take this portfolio. I don't think you want to leave the portfolio here. And I was like, oh, and it was dark. It was dark, and the Russians were like bald, right? It was like they were like white skinned, and I was like just sitting there, and I was like, but in the blog I mentioned that even if they don't want it, just leave it there just in case. So I just put it on the floor and I left. But it was weird. Yeah, I remember where the office was. It was weird too. So That's gonna happen. Be ready.
Hopefully you won't have such kind of receptions.
I rang like 2 times and nothing, and then I wanted to ring the 3rd time, and the person came out, and yeah, it was weird. But just be ready that something was gonna happen.
That is an amazing job search story. That's a pretty bizarre adventure. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on the article. It's really helpful too.
If there's something like this happening, just leave.
Definitely. Always take care of your safety first.
Yeah.
Outside of the talking about articles, we do have some life questions, and I'm always curious about is you cook a lot, right?
Yes, I cook.
I remember that one time you gave me a piece of your chicken, and I really loved it. So Michael is a very good cook, first of all.
I'm a utilitarian cook. I just cook to eat.
Where did you learn to cook so well?
Oh, bro, this goes great back to the childhood where I was mentioning that I was creating stuff. I don't know, I just looked at like recipes, like how to make pizza, and I just cooked like every time something. I wanted to impress my parents, so every time I brought something else, and that's how I learned. And yeah, but right now I just prep meals because it's cheap. So I just do like chicken and rice. I don't think that's a culinary wonder. Just chicken and rice. But I think the prepping part is the best because I go to Safeway, which just downstairs. Do you guys go to Safeway?
Yeah, all the time.
I buy stuff for like 3 days for like $120, which is chicken.
What? 3 days?
$120. Yeah,
No
bro.
way.
Yeah.
I spent the whole week 120.
I don't know,
No,
but it's
Bro,
still
I spent 100 in like 1 week and a half.
really. I just eat a lot. Okay, I thought this was gonna go like really so cheap, and it's going like the other way. Okay, yeah. But when you count it, it's like 120 for 3 days divided by 3 days. That's like $40. So 3 times. So it's like $10 and something per food. Like I don't think that's bad. And I don't do any. Like I don't party. I don't watch Netflix. I don't spend on like subscriptions. I don't know. Like it works. If I cook, I don't do delivery. You do delivery a lot.
I did delivery a lot.
I did that before and I almost went broke. So I started prepping meals and that's good. So prep meals, you're gonna save a lot of money.
Yeah, I need to really consider my life decisions.
That's the takeaway.
Do
Yes.
you only eat chicken or any other meat?
Sometimes I do like beef or something, but usually just chicken. It cooks fast. Do you eat chicken?
Chicken, pork, beef.
Chicken. Pork?
Yeah,
Fish.
everything.
Do you eat chicken?
Everything. Yeah.
You eat chicken?
I do.
Nice.
Right, so
Should we take the culinary question somewhere further?
where would you like to take the culinary questions?
Read The 4-Hour Chef. It's a good book. It's by Tim Ferriss.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Ferriss is good.
I love Tim Ferriss.
The 4-Hour Chef. He goes how to shop more efficiently, how to cook more efficiently. Yeah, it's good.
Speaking of Tim Ferriss, I would like to ask you a very Tim Ferriss question.
It's gonna be deep.
Yeah, it's gonna be deep, it's gonna be open. So the inspiration for this question comes from the last question that Tim Ferriss usually asks. And it is something that strikes me as something very useful, especially in conversing with different sorts of people and trying to find out like what their core is right now. So the question is, what sort of idea or thought do you want the world to know?
That's very broad. I think like looking back, like getting the internship was really difficult, and then finding my passion was really difficult, but it was getting more difficult and more difficult over time. And now like running the agency that we mentioned in the beginning, it's getting even more difficult, like trying to manage time, trying to manage people. So my message would be it's not going to get easier. It's not a very positive message, but it's going to get harder and harder. And I think the goal is to like learn how to enjoy it. I didn't want to say enjoy the journey because that's very generic, so I'm going to say the opposite, like it's going to get harder. So I think it's about learning how to enjoy the hard things.
How do you enjoy that?
How do I enjoy it? Before I used to get super stressed. I had like stomach aches and like all this, like super stressed. And right now when something hard is happening, I'm like, yeah, like give it to me, you know, like I'm gonna, like I just pump myself up somehow. I'm not the best at it, but I'm like learning how to cope with it. And there's other things like meditation, fitness, gym, and all these things that help you cope with it. And yeah, I'm learning how to enjoy it and how to cope with the hard things. But yeah, I think you get better at it. I think, like everybody, I think you deal with it as well, so it's not going to get easier. Because I think some people think like, oh, I'm going to learn this and then it's going to be easier. But it's not going to be easier. So learn to enjoy it, man.
So now I'd like to pass it to Eddie or Sven if they have any other questions for Michael.
Should we change?
Should we?
Yeah, we'll just switch
Should I
spots.
give a disclaimer
Actually-
that this is my first time on a podcast? I was so stressed out.
I'm curious about like when you were saying like you motivate yourself. Have you ever been like in a low point in your life where you actually are struggling into getting up again? Because I'm a really anxious person. Like personally, I really struggle a lot with self motivation. Like I have good weeks where I feel super productive. I'm doing what I want. Everything is just working out for me. And then out of the sudden, just my mind shifts away and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not being productive. This is not happening for me. And then you just start going down again. How do you personally like change that?
I don't think there's one thing. I think I just found out. First of all, when I start to feel like this, usually it's just energy, like low energy. So what I do is I go to the gym every morning. That like pumps me up like incredibly. Then I meditate for 10 minutes every morning. That helps me a lot because I feel like meditation, nobody really explains it how, I don't know. But for me, it's like I either sleep or like I work and there's no anything between, you know? And I found that meditation is something in between where I have like time to think through things and what am I doing. So that was that. Then in school, I went to the school counselor. I don't need to say her name, but I spoke with her. She introduced me to meditation. She introduced me to journaling. I have like Google Docs and every evening I go there and I type like, oh, today I did this. This is how I felt.
How does that help? Like what change do you feel when doing it?
So I think before I was doing it, I just went through the whole week and you even forget what happened through the week and you don't have time to reflect like, oh, did I move? did I do something progressive? And at the end of the week, I look at all the journals and I'm like, what did I learn this week? And for example, like when I started the branding, after the first week, I was like, oh, I learned how to do this in Illustrator. Or like, this is what I learned. Like, don't say this to your client because like it's not gonna be good. He's not gonna perceive it right. And I lost clients doing this. And I think if I didn't put it down in the journal in the evening that day when it happened, I would forget about it.
I think that's also like a motivation for you because you're doing like kind of a checklist of the things you already accomplished.
Because you feel like you're not progressing. But I think if you, every at the end of every day, like today you would be like, oh, this is what Michael, like maybe I learned something, blah, 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 you know, like, and you feel like every day you're learning something.
You're changing. I took like for the past 2 months, I've been taking this e-commerce course, maybe 3 courses of marketing and outside of school. And this is the first one that actually got into me because the first 2 modules are about self-motivation, how you should control yourself in the sense of having like a schedule or motivation in these are my goals for this month. I want to achieve this and this and this. And maybe like you said, like kind of a space between your goals. So you don't have to be specific, like saying like, I have to literally do $15,000, for example.
Yeah.
You can say like from 10 to 15 or from 1,000 or $100. But that way you keep yourself on track of where you want to go, give yourself a path. But I think it will be like a nice thing to try, like for me, especially since my anxiety is a little bit time consuming also. To do what you're saying, because I could first like plan ahead for my whole month and then just rethink of how my progress is going towards those goals.
Yeah.
So I think that would be like also for the people that are listening to this, like I think it's really, really special to write your stuff down and actually put your effort in saying like, I'm gonna kick ass and I'm gonna try to do this as best as I can. And maybe if I don't achieve the $100, I achieve maybe 80, but it's still, I'm gonna be proud about what I did.
Yeah.
And how I got to that point. I'm just talking about money because it's an easy example.
Yeah.
You know, not everything is money. There's also other things in life.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting what you're saying, like the putting down like a diary.
People don't talk to themselves enough. They like go the whole day, this wants this, he wants this is what I should do, and they never sit down and think like, what do I actually want, you know?
Do you think you know yourself?
No.
Do you consider like you have a lot to learn from yourself? Like every one of us has a lot to learn from ourselves. But do you think like maybe in this past 3 years of studying, changing environment, meeting new people, changing roommates constantly, we've all changed our environment so much in 3 years. Do you consider that you at least got a perspective of who you are different than what you thought you were before coming?
I think I have a grip of what I want to do. I think I really want to create cool shit like what we're doing right now. It's like, this is what I came here for. I feel like the 3 years of work where I didn't party, I didn't do anything, it was all worth it, you know? When I came here, my goal was when I graduate, I wanted to have a company that will at least pay my rent and pay my food. And that's what's been happening. And even when it's happening, I still have anxiety like you, because like, is it gonna like, that's why I'm saying it's gonna get harder. Like it's not gonna get easier.
I think we just get stronger, and even if we get like more difficult challenges, we're like better trained warriors. Let's call it like that. That's maybe saying it's gonna get harder. Yeah, it's gonna get harder, but you're also gonna be a different person, a better prepared person for that challenge. Maybe it's gonna get harder, but you're also growing, maturing, changing, evolving. Like if you're the type of person that, I don't remember where I read this. I normally read a lot about like self-motivation, and I read about this book. It's called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's about like this guy, Dan Millman. He's the author and he's the character in the book because he's talking about his experience in the 1965, something like that. He's an Olympic athlete, and he talks about like his change, his anxieties, his prison in his own mind, and it's super interesting how we evolve, how we get to that change in our perspective. You maybe have anxiety for some reason. I have anxiety of another reason. You're proud about the fact that you didn't party and you got to where you are right now. I partied a lot. I still party because
I don't think it matters. Like we're 21. Like it's never.
I'm 23.
But yeah, this is what really helped me when I was at my lowest like a year ago. I wasn't enjoying life, I didn't know what to do, and then I started listening to Tim Ferriss. I started meditating, and I recommend everybody start listening to Tim Ferriss, because all the other podcasts that I was listening to before entrepreneurship, they're like, oh, this is the company, this is how I started it, we put this together, and then it started working, yeah, blah, like everything is good, no. And then in Tim Ferriss, this is like the first 15 minutes. And then the next like 2 hours, he goes like deep into like the mental, like how did you feel? And like the people are no different than us. Like it's the same kind of people. Like they start like this, like, hi, I'm Michael, like me and my friends are doing advertising for you. But then they grow and like they end up being there. So it was good hearing that other people had the same problems.
I think it's also a cool thing, not only problems, but people that support each other. Having you here, it's like really special to us three for Seasons podcast, because first of all, you're the first guest we have.
Thanks to Tom.
A nice podcast, and also because you give a lot and you're putting a lot of your own experience into this podcast, and I think people will really appreciate it. Because we were trying to give a perspective of different minds, different setups, different lifestyles, different environments, and you clearly lived a lot. Your way of being is different from mine. So it's really interesting to hear you talk about, first of all, your company. You don't even have a website, you don't even have an Instagram and everything, but it's still growing, it's still working. Then you are the type of guy who spends $120 in 3 days of food, and a guy that doesn't need to party to be happy.
Yeah.
Many people like myself are the type of people that think and believe that when you party, you're having fun. You need that in your week. You know, I used to party a lot, but I'm trying to lower it a little bit. That's why I'm partying just one time a week. But
Just
it's still,
one time a
yeah. But I'm 23. You know,
You should party, bro. I
Yeah.
try to party now more because I felt like I missed out on a little bit. So like once every 2 months to party.
we could help each other. So you come with me for a crazy night out, and then you
Come with me for a boring day, but
you're gonna help me through my week.
but I actually came up with one thing like regarding the motivation and what to do. What really helped me is that when I was building my website, for example, I was like, oh, I need to build this website, but there was all other things that were easier to do at the moment. And I think maybe what you might be struggling is with that the goals are like too big. I think you should like break them down to like the simplest thing. So the simplest thing for me was like the website was the big one, and then like do this page and then go lower and lower and lower and lower. What I found out is like the task for today is like to choose the font, bro. Like you can choose the font today, you know, and then go up and up and up. And that's what I found out, that like the website was so scary that I never broke it down. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna reply to this email, I'm gonna do this, and then I never got to the website. And then
That's really interesting. Like
break it down.
Break it down into steps. I think a really good advice, because right now I'm almost done with school. December I'm gone. I'm not a student anymore. I want to do my OPT, of course, and I'm also trying to build my e-commerce. And I have a couple of ideas. And what you just said is so true, because you have this goal so big. You know you can have it, but you don't reach it. It's because it's too big. Things just don't happen just one day to the other. Okay, lottery, it happens, you win, you get a lot of money. But if you're actually have a dream of building, for example, a brand like you're doing, or I also want to have a brand. I want to have a company in the construction industry and another company of clothing. But it's a big thing. Both ideas are big, but I need to first start like doing my research, and then split everything of my research step by step. And then once the research is done, it's already part of the goal I'm trying to achieve.
And even do the research is a big goal, I think. Like what kind of research, and then how are you gonna do like go like all the way down, and then this is the thing I can do today, and then it's not scary anymore. So I think that's a good thing to break it down.
And that's how this podcast also started. Like literally just organize a little bit of this, step it up, and say, okay, we're gonna split it, and we're gonna do this step first. Okay, we're gonna use lighting, do we need a camera? What are we gonna do? And that's how it worked out. I wanna thank you, because time is a little bit on us right now.
I have to say one more thing. On OPT, guys, all the students on OPT, you can freelance. Like nobody knows this. I don't know why, but you can freelance on OPT. Bro, nobody knows this. Like this, I don't know, nobody knows. When I told people that I'm freelancing, nobody knew. So you can get a license from the city and you can freelance. You can do consulting, you can do design, you can do photography. Just, you can freelance, do it.
Thank you. I'm going to change with Tom so he can end the podcast. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Tom, come back. He's my roommate, by the way. Did you guys thank Tom? It's the only reason I mean, not the only reason, but...
Thank you so much for coming today, Michael.
Thank you.
We're really glad to have you here today.
Thank you for having
Very
me.
honorable first guest, so thank you for helping us out too.
Thank you. I was a little stiff at the beginning because I was stressed out, but then it got much better.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening to us today.
Thank you.
Keep listening.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll keep listening. And
Yeah, the agency doesn't have a website, but where I post my work related to design is my surname, so hudac.com. visit it, and click blog if you want to read the blog about the internship. And yeah, that's it.
And also follow our social media
Yes, follow Seasons Podcast.
at the Seasons Podcast on Instagram. And we'll also put in the link of our Facebook down there. So thank you guys. Thank you from all of us.
Yeah.
From me, Michael, Eddie, and Sven. We'll see you guys next time.